Welcome to the Impatient Entrepreneur Podcast, a show where we hear from entrepreneurs and business owners who are chomping at the bit to make their mark on the world. I'm your host, Lauren Quidar-Cockrell. Now, let's hurry up and get to the good stuff. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Today, we have Danny Nathan, who has founded a company called Apollo 21, which I'm going to let him tell us all about that because it looks like we have some intersectionality to uncover and discuss. So let's just get right to it. Danny, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So tell us what Apollo 21 is and where all do you intersect?
I would love to. You're pulling my intersect moment here, so I might have to find another word. But I like to tell people that Apollo 21 straddles the line or sits at the intersection, depending on which euphemism you'd like to throw at it, between an innovation consultancy and a digital product design studio. And so in very straightforward terms, at least as much as I can make it off the top of my head, what that means is that we work usually with mid-sized to larger companies to help them ideate and build new products, to help them think about what innovation means within their walls and how to foster a culture of innovation, what that effort looks like in terms of an impact on their company culture and their operations, help them think about the business metrics that align to innovation, because in reality, the way that a lot of companies are structured to be measured does not really work with the idea of innovation. Mm-hmm. And so we spend a lot of our time helping our clients understand sort of what to expect as they are committing themselves to innovation into the future. And then the last thing that we find ourselves doing a lot of is building technology to help companies solve operational problems. Okay. So as companies are growing and they're finding that their processes or their tech stack is beginning to fail them as they're looking to scale, we often come in and help evaluate and understand what the needs of that tech stack are, and then build something from scratch to support their processes and operations specifically, rather than just sort of trying to buckle together a bunch of, SaaS platforms to try and make something happen.
Okay, there was a lot of intersectionality there.
Yes. Yeah.
How did we get here? How did this come to be? Tell us the journey.
Yeah, this grew out of my own career path, really. So I started my career way back in the day in advertising, and very quickly realized that I didn't enjoy it, and that the most fun I was ever going to have in the world of advertising was during ad school, which I had graduated. And so I took it upon myself to find a way out of the world of advertising, and ended up very early in my career as one of the early hires at an innovation consultancy here in New York, working with large companies that I would never have had the opportunity to impact or engage with in the way that I did had I not sort of landed at this company. And so I was hire number 5 or 7 or something like that when they were 2 or 3 months old, and really had just a unique opportunity to jump in with both feet and just kind of figure it all out as I went alongside the rest of the folks at the company. And they were one of the first leadership teams that I have ever worked for that was willing to say no to their clients or to opportunities that didn't align to their perspective on how the world of innovation and, the relationship between brands and customers should unfold. And it was also at a very pivotal time in the world of technology. I joined the company in late 2007, I think within weeks of the launch of the first iPhone. Social media was very much becoming, a thing. Twitter had just migrated from being SMS based to actually being an application that you could log into. And so there was this huge whirlwind of change that was going on in the market in terms of the role that technology played and how people were using it, and the expectations that those changes were setting for companies based on consumer interests. And this was just such a great place to kind of be in that spot at that time, because we really had the opportunity to take a little bit of a contrarian stance in the market to yield advertising agency or, the digital agencies of the day, which at the time were still kind of cranking out Flash websites and stuff like that. So I did that for a few years, and then got hooked on the world of startups and entrepreneurship and all of that, which I sort of got my exposure to through my innovation consulting days, and spent the subsequent, 12 years of my career shifting between starting my own companies or serving usually as head of product for other startups, and just helping companies create really interesting things that ranged anywhere from AI models to understand what was happening within a video across the timeline to, how distribution of video content could be impacted at large scale. I just sort of fell into a media background for a while. And at my last company, which was a video-focused technology company in LA, I spent the last year of my tenure there kind of running a SWAT team that was designed to help other portfolio companies with their technology needs. And so after about a year of that, somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, "You want to go do this? You seem to enjoy it." And so that led to the birth of Apollo 21 about 3 years ago.
Okay. And do you love it? Were they right?
I do love it. Full stop. It is not easy. It's a ton of work. There's, kind of a never-ending battle within it, as there is with any young fledgling company. But yes, I love it.
Great. Well, so first official question, Danny, are you an impatient entrepreneur?
I'm an impatient person, and I'm an entrepreneur. So yes, I am.
Yes. And what does the company look like today? Do y'all have a team? Do you have co-founders? Tell us about that.
I do have a team. I do not have co-founders. I have a small leadership team of about 5 people that are my kind of full-time, partners and brethren in arms, if you will. And then we stretch the team as needed based on whatever projects we have going on. And so we have been as big as about 30 at any given time. And then, as projects wind down or whatever, we shrink the team back down and find the next one and then scale it back up. And we do that over and over again.
And do people know that they need an innovation consultant? Is that a thing that people Google, or tell us about that?
It is in some cases, particularly with larger organizations. Often what happens is folks will come to us or get referred to us because they have some sort of problem that they are struggling to solve. Often they've been trying to solve that problem, sometimes off and on, sometimes very directly for a number of years on occasion. And we sort of get pinpointed as this company that could come in and make hard things not difficult. And so we often get referred into companies that are, butting their head against something, and they know that technology can help, but don't have the team or the background knowledge to know how to bring those things to life. And so I guess the answer is we often come in not necessarily through the innovation consulting door, but then once we begin working with and interacting with clients and helping them sort of understand our perspective on the world and why we believe innovation often doesn't work the way that large organizations talk about it today, we end up in this position where, oh, cool, well, you've solved that problem. What else can we do together? How else can you help us? How can we take these things that you've been sort of talking to us about in the world of innovation and make them actionable for our organization? And so a lot of times what starts with a very clear problem statement then grows into, oh, cool, and how could we do this? And what about this? And now we want to talk about this. And so it's a lot of fun because we get to learn about our clients' organizations and their problems. And often then that leads us to making suggestions and sort of going, oh, cool, well, you said you have this problem. Have you thought about how that impacts this thing over here? And so on and so forth.
I love that unfolding. There's certain problems that are easier to latch on as you're struggling on your own. We have very similar corollaries in our PR and marketing work, and people might come to us to do an announcement, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Wait, can you do social content? And how about websites?
Right.
And what about a billboard?"
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. It's once you've built that trust, then it opens the door to a lot.
Absolutely. So are you impatient about anything in particular right now? Do you have something coming out soon that you're real eager to get out the door? Or?
Oh, God. I'm staring down here because I have a row of sticky notes along the bottom of my monitor that are my to-do list. I am absolutely impatient. We are in the process of launching a pre-accelerator program that is focused on what I call napkin stage startup founders. So you have an idea, you've probably articulated it as, ooh, I want to build a blank that does blank for blank types of people. And often folks kind of haven't gotten any further, or once they've had the idea, their immediate assumption is, how do I go and build the MVP? And so we take a little bit of a contrarian perspective there. And our answer to that question is usually, well, you shouldn't yet. Because we're also huge advocates for the lean customer development process. And so all of this comes together around an accelerator program that is focused on helping very early stage entrepreneurs understand the value and the process of speaking with their potential customers, helping or allowing those customers to help them understand how their back of the napkin idea might evolve so that they can de-risk it and really understand how that idea serves a customer need so that they can then guarantee that the thing that they're making is only as big as it needs to be, build 2 features, not 10, but make them amazing, and ensure that the customers that they think that that will want that thing will want it, and better yet, will pay for it.
Love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone's listened to the show before, they've heard me talk time and time again about, that first year of business and how much things change and how much they're supposed to change. But what a nice thing to have as a shortcut.
Yes, exactly. And it's amazing what happens when you actually take the time to talk to your customers and, learn from them.
Yes. Just a bunch of assumptions.
Yes, exactly. So, so we're working on that. And then we recently launched an accelerated innovation lab offering, which is basically like a 2-day innovation workshop that helps companies evaluate how their innovation practices are working today, understand what the potential is for tomorrow, and gives them sort of a crash course in everything that I've been describing, but crammed into 2 days with some very clear-cut deliverables and things like that, so that hopefully at that point they go, oh, wow, okay, I hadn't thought about it this way. Here's how customer development plays into our innovation practices. And here's how building a new product can help with our growth efforts. And, here's how our marketing team can suddenly get involved with product development in our company and all sorts of fun stuff like that. So
cool. Nice. Well, keep us posted.
Will do.
And so how do you fuel yourself and help you stay ahead of the curve on all these things so that you can be that person for your clients and your team and, leading the charge there? Do you read books?
I read books voraciously. I have a stack sitting right over here that are half finished right now. I don't know. It looks like it's probably 12 or 15 that I've made it about halfway through. I consume a ton. So whether it's, information online and just kind of getting out there and playing with whatever the newest piece of technology is that sounds interesting so that I can understand it and be able to speak to it and help clients understand how it might impact their world, et cetera. We're seeing a ton of that, especially over the last year with all things AI and helping our clients understand what it means to integrate AI into their workflows and their organization and how to kind of start playing with that today. A lot of our clients or a lot of potential clients come to us, going, we need AI, but they don't really know what that means. And they don't kind of know what goes into that. Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's kind of what it comes down to is the world is telling me that I need AI help. Is kind of what the undertone of that, that cry for help is. And so, we work with clients to help them understand sort of where things sit today, how they might expect the future of AI to impact their business, and then just sort of what kind of tools and toys they can go out there and play with right now so that they can begin to just wrap their head around what is AI doing? How does it work? How can it help me? Where do I want to dump data versus not want to dump data? Things like that.
And I'm sure AI for you, you're like, yeah, I've been using it or watching it for eons. Y'all are just now coming to the party. Like we've been here for a while now. Do you sort of like a party line? Like, yeah, it's great, or it's here to help you. Like, here's what you need to be worried about. Like, I'm just kind of curious where your mind is at as far as this goes.
Yeah. AI is great. It is going to change everything. I think that the the level of attention and awareness around it is a good thing. But I think that the caveat to all of that is right now, most people's touch point with AI is some sort of commercially available chat engine or something like that. So a Claude, a ChatGPT, a Gemini, whatever. And while that's a great way to understand what the potential behind AI is, a lot of companies and a lot of people don't understand, A, what happens when I put something in. So, you know, if you're going to grab your company's financial data, for example, and dump it into ChatGPT so that you can ask questions about it, yes, that's a wonderful use case for AI because it will help you discover things that you might not have understood before. But you just gave another company all of your financial data. Congratulations. So we try to help people understand the watch outs around that, and then also understand sort of what it looks like to get from, well, today I could go and drop things into ChatGPT. How do I not do that tomorrow so that I'm protecting myself against the data issue that you're pointing out, et cetera? And so we help our clients understand sort of what the data structures need to be that are in place in order to build their own models so that they can have more proprietary use of AI based on their own data without concerns about where it's going or who else might see it, et cetera.
Interesting. It's funny because my sort of party line is, particularly as a strategist and content creator company, is, you know, garbage in equals garbage out. Like, people are using it, and you can certainly tell when it's happening and they don't have a art or discernment around content, for instance. That's the lane we're in. But yeah, but confidential in it was like public information out.
Yes, exactly. So got to be a little careful there.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you've had this business for about 3 years now. In that time, has something happened in your journey where you felt like, oh my God, I'm not sure my baby business is going to survive this, but ultimately it turned out to be one of the best things that could have happened?
Twist at the end there really kind of kills my answer.
I know. It gets everybody. Now, you know, we have to put our abundance mindset hats on. You know, even if it's like, I'm never going to do that again. You know, I think these lessons teach us so much about ourselves, about business. You know, sometimes it's like, it's pure agony, but, you know, if we take a moment to really think about it, like, I hired in haste and it bit me in the butt, but I'm never going to do that again, type of thing. For example.
I mean, I think that one of the things that I learned, and I'm going to marginally say that it was the best thing that happened, only because it has made me highly aware of not letting it happen again. But as an early, you know, as a young founder for Apollo 21, I don't know that I'm allowed to call myself young. Anyway, as a founder of Apollo 21 about 3 years ago,
It's 3 years younger than I am today.
Exactly. Long story short, one of the things that I have learned very quickly is to prioritize your sales funnel. And it's very easy to get caught up in the work that you have going on now and wanting to serve your current customers to the best of your abilities. But the problem is that customers will always go away. And sometimes it'll be your fault, sometimes it'll be their fault, sometimes it'll be nobody's fault, but you're going to lose them at some point. And so prepare for it from the beginning, which I did not do a great job of early on. And I have learned, I would go so far as to say I've learned so much from that experience that it has now baked itself into one of our core operating principles, which we share quite publicly. It's on our website, which is we expect our clients to outgrow us. And for us, especially in the space that we play in, I think that's a relatively unique perspective because most services companies find a new client and they go, oh my God, this is great. It's a source of revenue. I'm going to hold on as tightly as I can for as long as I can.
Part.
Yeah, exactly. And what I through personal experience have come to learn is that that's a really good way to tarnish a relationship right at the very end, which is when you kind of want everybody to feel happy and leave on good terms, because then, you know, it will lead to referrals. And if everybody's happy at the end of the relationship, then, you know, you've got warm, fuzzy feelings that you can then lean on and rely on in the future. And so our experiences with the unspoken client that I kind of have in the back of my head as I'm describing this learning experience led us down the path to the creation of that operating principle. And it has really changed both my perspective personally and just the way that we approach our client engagements in general, because rather than expecting from the get-go that we're going to hold on as tightly as we can, we've decided to very openly take the opposite approach, which is at some point, if we do our jobs well, or if we don't do our jobs well, ideally it's because we've done our jobs well.
Right, yeah.
Our clients are going to come to us and say, this is amazing. You helped us build an amazing product. And now it's time for us to go and bring the operations for that product inside our business. Thank you and goodbye.
Yeah.
Or hopefully thank you and we'll call you again the next time around. But if we can plan for that and prepare for that from the get-go and even help them get to the point where our clients feel confident in their ability to walk away, then it creates a much stronger relationship and it creates a lot more trust. And so we take that so far as to tell our clients that we will literally help them build a technology team and then hand that team to them and allow them to bring the team in-house at the end of our engagement. And so we will take a company that has no technology team, no software experience, no product or design experience, and build that capability into their offering so that by the time they're done working with Apollo 21, they literally have their own technology team and they're ready to hit the ground running and keep building and iterating on whatever we've helped them create from the get-go.
How can you say that's not a great thing?
Fair. I had to get myself into the right frame of mind.
Free therapy, Danny. I think that's beautiful to and such a value add. I think a lot of clients come into a service-based relationship and be like, they're going to try to get me to stick here for forever. Like, I just need the thing, give me the thing, and then get off me,
Right.
And we are very much the same, whether it's for a project or a very long, we're in the midst of a conscious uncoupling of a relationship that we've had since 2018. And while there were tears shed at the when we were discussing that and making that decision, saying something like, you have outgrown us, it is time to take this in-house, you are ready, you can do this, we will help you, we're not shoving you out of the nest, it's going to be fine.
We'll be here.
We'll be here.
You can always call us if there's a problem, but go learn, do.
Yeah, like that's true partnership rather than entrapment.
Yes.
Or holding them hostage, and because nobody wants to feel like they're locked into something, but to have so much agency in the relationship, the power dynamics, everyone's on equal footing, particularly because they've come to you to help solve this problem, and so you own the knowledge, you have the knowledge and the know-how, and they want to receive that, but then they don't want to feel like they have to chew off their arm to get out of it in the end.
Exactly.
And then what does that look like, underneath the hood? Like, so you start an engagement and you're immediately like, you talked about your sales pipeline very briefly. So you've got somebody looking for new deals, like as soon as you're inking the deal, like what does that really look like, brass tacks?
Basically, it means that we have a committed effort around all things sales that regardless of what projects are going on today, that process just does not stop.
Yep. Amen.
I'd rather have somebody get really excited about working with us, and for whatever reason, this has not happened yet. So we'll see if it does. But I'd rather get to the point where I have to say to somebody like, "Hey, you can work with us, but you're gonna have to wait 3 months," than not have somebody ready and waiting.
Yeah. Payroll coming.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Well, and to that too, I don't know if this is something you've thought about, and I've had a guest share before, and it's become a part of my thought process too. But as the company grows and matures and your price tag follows suit, once you have these like biggest clients, like never allowing them to be just the only one at the top of the food chain, like having some, making sure that you've got someone alongside of that to sort of balance that out, because when that client does eventually mature out or things end good or bad, you're not just like, oops.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah. Not letting any single client represent too much of your inbound revenue is absolutely important. And it's kind of the next step in that never stop selling and never let one client become too much of the pie.
Right. Yes. Okay. Such great. Everybody write that down.
Yes, do. I wish somebody had told me that 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those, that's one we either have to learn the hard way, or hopefully we're listening to something like this, or listening to a friend or colleague. Smart people learn from their mistakes, wise people learn from the mistakes of others. So aim to be wise, friends.
Yes.
Okay, so growing up, did little Danny ever feel like a part of you was a weakness? People were pointing it out or critiquing it, or you just in general were like, oh, if I weren't so competitive or ambitious or emotional or whatever it were, things would be better. But now as an adult and a leader, you realize it's actually your superpower.
For me, it was less about impatience growing up and more about tenacity and just understanding that not giving up is important. And so I was highly involved in all things theater growing up, which is a really tough business to, to make a mark in. And so, I learned a bit of that there. I went to ad school where by the time I'd spent, years learning improv and this, that, and the other, I was not really scared of much at that point. You get on stage and forget a line or something, and it'll humble you pretty quickly. And so we learned all about growing thick skin in ad school, and then you get out in the world, and then all of a sudden you're an adult and you have to fend for yourself, and there's all kinds of learning that comes with that, as we all know.
Yeah, well, tenacity is a good one for being a business owner. I mean, getting up every day and putting one foot in front of the other and showing up to make payroll and showing up for our clients and doing the work. I mean, especially when stuff's going on and you're just like, oh my God, I don't know.
Exactly.
I do find with some of these that there is a double-edged sword. Do you feel like that tenacity can have a downside? Like, are you people in your life who are like, let it go, man?
I don't know so much about the people, but you want to start talking about work-life balance, and you should probably just find somebody else to talk about that.
Unbalanced. We're unbalanced. Got it. All work and no fun.
Hey, work is fun. So
true. I agree. I agree. It is. I do. I think those of us who really love what we do, there's a couple kinds of entrepreneurs. Some who are like, I'm going to make this investment. I'm going to run a business. I don't care what the service or product is, but I'm just looking to, generate profit and sell it and exit and move on. And then there are those of us who are idiots who start companies based on being great at something and have a lot of fun,
Yeah, if you can have fun doing it, it's way better.
Yeah, I agree. I'm like, I don't know what that would be like. The other way around. Be tough. As we get close to wrapping up, what's one piece of advice you could give our listeners so they can make their lives and businesses stronger and better today?
Ooh, can I give you two?
Please.
Cool. First one's a little bit pat, but I like to get it out of the way quickly. It will always take longer than you think it will.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what it is.
Louder for the people in the back.
It will always take longer than you think it will. And so, it comes out of, if you pay attention to the world of, startups and entrepreneurship long enough, you hear stories inevitably that make it sound like the people that we look up to or that we hear about all the time who have had giant exits or IPO'd their company out of their college dorm room or whatever, did so overnight. And the reality is, when you actually stop and look at the timelines of those companies, is that it took years usually. And so there is a sense of impatience around starting and operating a company that, most people just kind of go, okay, let's go. When's it going to happen? When can I raise money? What's next? Let's go. And you have to remember just to sort of take a breath. Like, okay, it's going to take a little while. I got time. It's not going to happen overnight. And then my second one is a bit of a personal mantra that I've developed over the course of my career, which is fail beautifully. And it is something that I live by. And it's a constant reminder that if anything is really worth doing, it's worth actually throwing yourself into and trying and giving it, at least a fully committed attempt. And those efforts are the ones that, often self-destruct and blow up in your face, but they also make for amazing stories afterwards and great learning experiences. And so I like to remind myself that if I'm going to do it, I might as well fail beautifully in the process. Or if I'm lucky, maybe not. But, embracing failure and understanding that it is just a part of the process right there alongside it will take longer than you think.
Right.
What you end up with is a long road of failure after failure with a couple of wins mixed in that, ultimately, hopefully outweigh the failures, but at least give you a great story and learning experience.
So how do your impatience and tenacious personalities coexist?
That's a really good question. It's an odd balancing act where I'm like consistently looking at a stack of too many things that I need to do or want to get done, and just constantly like biting off whatever the next one is in front of me and like concentrating on getting that done. For better or worse, I'm not a huge procrastinator, and I'm reasonably capable at like looking at a list of things going, okay, these are the things that need to get done. That's the one that's most important right now. Let's go and do that. And then I'll move on to the next one. And so I've kind of learned that I can have a whole stack of things in front of me that I want to do, but it's up to me to figure out which one needs to get done right now. And it's just sort of how I do things is, all right, I have 30 minutes. What's on my list that I could accomplish in 30 minutes? Let's go crank it out.
Discernment. and then you're just comfortable with how it works out.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. So where can people find you?
Easiest place to find us is on our website. We are apollo21.io, and folks will find a bunch of case studies, outlines a whole bunch of different work that we've done for a lot of different types of clients, outlines all of the outcomes and things. So, you get the actual brass tacks of like, no, here's what actually happened when we did that. And then we have a bunch of white papers and articles and things like that offer some perspectives on innovation and technology building and what it means to build a product and why you should bother talking to your customers and all of that exciting stuff. And then, of course, Apollo 21 is active on social media, usually in some variation of Apollo 21 or Apollo 21 IO or .io on socials. You know what? We're getting so late in the socials game that it's hard to like get that one screen name that you can keep across the board, which I did manage to do personally. So if anybody wants to follow me directly, I'm blah, blah, blah / among many on just about every social outlet. So I'm easy to find.
Among many, is that was what it was? Okay, got it.
Yep, among many.
All right. And then as I can't let you go without asking, where did Apollo 21, the name, come from?
Everybody loves that question. I was thinking about what to name the company, and it's, it's obviously a greenfield opportunity. And so you just end up with this overwhelming list of ideas where you're going, oh God, we could call it, Purple Turtle or whatever. And at the time that I was trying to come up with names, I don't remember what show it was, but I was watching something that was space oriented and was talking about the Apollo program. And it got me thinking about Moonshots and how the Apollo program was the original, that's where the idea of the moonshot came from. And so then I started digging a little bit more deeply, and I found that the Apollo program ended technically after Apollo 20, although 18, 19, and 20 were all canceled due to budgetary reasons. And so Apollo 21 would have been the next Apollo mission. And we started in 2021. And so it just created kind of a nice alignment in my head around oh, interesting. Moonshots, big swings, Apollo program, 21. So it all kind of lined up there.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you, Danny. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. I've enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to The Impatient Entrepreneur. Love the podcast? Be sure to share it with a friend or colleague and give us a 5-star review. You can also chat with us on Instagram or Facebook at The Impatient Entrepreneur Pod. Want to star on a feature episode? Head over to theimpatiententrepreneur.com to inquire. Thank you to the team at Quidar & Co. for believing in me and bringing this podcast to life. And thank you to Carson Childers for mixing and editing this episode. I can't wait to see you next time.